Hello and welcome to Three Questions With. Got my friend Steve with us. Steve's a business coach from FocalPoint. Good afternoon, Steve. Welcome to the show.
How you doing, Kevin? Thanks for having me.
Living the dream, my friend. So, Steve, I asked you to come on the show today because one of the challenges for business owners when we look for a coach is figuring out who to use. There's so many coaches, there's so many different experiences, and it can get overwhelming because, like, well, who do I choose? What advice do you have for us to help us pick the right coach?
Well, you said it perfectly. There's literally a coach for everyone and for everything. I see it all the time. There's life coaches, relationship coaches, money coaches, business coaches, executive coaches. Where do you begin? I would say you begin by having lots of conversations and ask questions that really bring to light what it is you're looking for or what your challenges are, right? And then see if that coach happens to have experience in that area. So for example, if someone came to me and said, can you coach, a CEO at a Fortune 100 company? I would say I could probably help them in some way, shape, or form, but that doesn't really align with my experience. I'm more of a small and medium-sized business executive. So there might be somebody better suited for them. So I would just make sure that the person that you're going to work with as a coach has relevant experience. That's always a great starting point. And then you got to understand, you've got to have a good rapport with them, right? Again, there's a coach for everybody. And just because my experience matches with, is a great match with what you want in a coach doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have that good personal connection. So imagine showing up every week or every other week to have a conversation with somebody that's supposed to be helping you, and you really don't want to talk to them because you just don't feel that connection. It's not going to go very far, and you're going to spend, a fair amount of money quickly and still not be very happy with the results. So check the credentials, make sure that they're real and that they align more or less with what you're trying to accomplish, and then get a good feeling about that person. That's my advice to anybody who's seeking any type of coaching, professional or personal.
That sounds good. Steve, let's talk a little bit about your background. What area do you focus on in your coaching practice?
Yeah, so I mean, my background comes from manufacturing. I've grown up in the OEM world where, original equipment manufacturers are designing and manufacturing their own products. And so you've got engineers and you've got operations people and sales people and financial people and HR people. It's really a complex grouping of teams within a particular type of company. And so my background coming from manufacturing and coming up through supply chain really lends itself well to those OEMs of the world and the contract manufacturers, anybody making anything. I understand that world really well and how to make all the different elements of that business really click. I like to tell people that, your business might be doing okay, it might be making money, but if your executives and the teams that work for those executives aren't in lockstep with each other, you're leaving money on the table.
That's a great point, Steve, because I find that a lot of us are building a business and then we hit that roadblock. I built a team, but Kevin and Steve, oh my God, we put them in the same room. We just pray that they're both going to come out alive. They just don't get along and they're fighting. And I know that it's holding my business back. Or they just have a problem. Like, I just don't know how to handle this problem. But there's no one to talk to because I can't go out to my team and go, I'm really scared about this, that we're not going to do this right, because then I'm going to freak out my team. That's where you can come in and help them see that roadblock and get past it.
100%. I mean, so let's talk about the manager or the leader first. So that can be a really lonely situation, right? And that's why you hire a coach oftentimes, because you don't have anybody else that you can speak with about that problem. And you don't necessarily have the expertise to understand why Kevin and Steve aren't getting along, and you're concerned about the, two going in and one coming out of the room. The reality is not everybody's going to be best friends in the workplace, and that's okay. But the reason that we don't get along most oftentimes is because we have very different communication and behavioral styles. And so a good business or executive coach should be able to identify that and help the participants at least understand the differences in each other's communication preferences and behavioral styles, and help them find a way to bridge that gap That's a big part of what I do when we're dealing with teams. There's 4 different communication styles, and certain styles definitely rub other styles the wrong way. And so understanding that, presenting it to people, and giving them an opportunity to bridge that gap, that's a big part of business and executive coaching.
So, Steve, have you come across this where someone will reach out to you for a problem and you find out that's not really the problem? It's just, it's a subset of it, but like, wait, you are not seeing this. This is the real problem. This is just something that happened because of it.
It happens all the time. And, I tell people that we have, as business owners or business leaders, especially ones that have been in the same business or same industry for a long time, we get blinders on, right? And we think about things one particular way. And it takes, someone like myself or any type of good business or executive coach to come along and give you the opportunity to see things from a different perspective. And usually when you do that, that's when those other reasons for why things aren't working really come to light. It's because we've been thinking about the same thing the same way for a very long time.
We're all guilty of that, my friend. So, Steve, what's the best way for people to reach out to you? How can they learn more?
So I always like to direct people to my LinkedIn profile first, Steve DeVries. You'll find me on there, FocalPoint Business Coaching. I do have a website as well. Just Google me on FocalPoint and my name's Steve DeVries, and you'll find me there. You can email me, sdevries@focalpoint.com, or you can call me, 603-277-3288. I'm located in Southern New Hampshire. I work all around New Hampshire and really all around New England, so I'm not hard to find.
Awesome, Steve. I appreciate taking a few minutes to call on the show. And as always, thanks for being my friend.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. I appreciate your friendship.